leading scorer, make up that top line. And look out for right wing Jordan Eberle, off to a pretty impressive start in the early stages of his NHL career. Devils and Oilers tonight to wrap up this 3-game homestand. Let's get it started. Doc Emmerich, Chico Resch.
And Brian Ralston looking on, anxious to get out there for the first time. 37 years of age, 3-time Olympian out of Lake Superior State, has waited a long time through surgery and everything else. 7 first-round picks of the Oilers are in the lineup. All 3 forwards that start the game are such. Taylor Hall, Ales Hemsky, and Sam Gagner. Jim Vandermeer, Ryan Whitley, the wily veterans in back. Talinder in to play the first one, matched up with Colin White on defense, and it's White after this one. Kovalchuk is working with Vasyunov and Zajac at center. Tipped across by Hall, poked further by Kovalchuk, and swatted back in by Gagner. Dave Gagner, former Ranger, is the father of Sam. It is played along now by Talinder, rattled back up where Kovalchuk tried to chip it further, could not. Kept alive now. A nice pull, but a quick lose by Hemsky, and he has to regather. Forced on back to center, and we're getting a penalty coming up against the Devils early. Here's Hemsky moving in, but now play is stopped.
Well, this is not what the Devils wanted in a must game tonight. For me, this is as big a must game as I have seen the Devils needing to win in 6-7 years. This is just one that you would assume would be in the bag. The Oilers played last night. They've been smoked their last 2 games. They've been outscored 12-0 in the first period, but yet they draw the first penalty, and they will go on the power play and try and get a goal here early in this hockey game.
Zajac the slash at 46 seconds. The Oilers 1 for 3 last night at Joe Louis Arena in Detroit in a decisive loss there. The Devils in penalty killing killed off both of the opportunities against Buffalo, but 7 for the last 33 have been scored. Across now for a hold and a shot that's booted back out by Brodeur off the stick of Jordan Eberle. Held now by Whitney, dealt back across for the hold there by Brule. Dealt back in once again for the work to the outside. Theo Peckham able to see it go across now, and it's poked back in deep away from the reach of Eberle, all the way around where Whitney tried to play. Good cover there, and it's held by Ryan Jones. Jones drops it off. Whitney gave it across. Held there and given to Eberle. Eberle, side of the net play, and a shot blocked aside by Brodeur. A good try from Curtis Foster. Rattled back off, and it can be cradled there by Brule and kept alive. Knifed right back to him again. Has Whitney right in his hip pocket. Decides to march and fire, and that blocked away by Green. Skipped on back where Whitney must play at center.
Well, you're seeing what we get from young, inexperienced team like the Oilers. Last 2 games, they haven't been in it. But tonight, they look like they brought their good stuff, and when you got that much talent, look out.
They have been outscored the last 5 games in the first period, 12-0. Not good starts for them. But here they had the power play, and a shot by Gagner was booted right back. Kept alive by Hemsky now. Has Whitney, fires one. Knocked away, side of the net, played right back to him again by Dustin Penner. And it is Hemsky over for the trigger pull by Gagner that's tipped wide. Flexed along by Volchenkov, lifted by White, and back down, and finally play is out of the Devils' defensive end with 25 to go in the power play to the Oilers.
Well, Marty Brodeur getting a chance to flex that muscle in the right arm, and it looks to be just fine.
This is sent on the wing, but away from Hemsky, and Rod Pelly dumps it along. Adam Mayer flicked it further, regathered by Penner. Given back to Whitney. Whitney able to move with it now. Stashed one in front that is cut off by Andy Green, and he's able to just lug it ahead, cross the checkered line, drop it in, and Zajac is out of the box. Well, Marty with a good penalty kill. There was a lot of traffic in his end and some firing shots, but only 2 wound up on his goal, taken by Talinder and dumped along for Matt Taramina. Providence College product, got it on to center where it's jouted for by Arnott, and he's able to jab it across. Lifted right back along by Jason Strudwick, the one-time New York Ranger. Lifted back in again by Taramina, and around the roulette wheel it goes to Elias. Dropped on for Tedenby, and Tedenby just turns and shuttles it back to Linder. A shot blocked down by Dubnyk and taken around behind by Strudwick. Played further through Elias and off Taramina. Popped high, and Cogliano can bring it ahead. Andrew Cogliano out of Michigan. This is sent on back now for Vandermeer. Fires one that ricocheted across off Tedenby. Taken on by Taylor Hall. Threw one in front, blocked by Brodeur. Lifted along by Talinder and controlled by Taramina. Brodeur is 3 for 3. I don't know if they're going to count that as a shot on goal, but I sure would. Taken on by Taramina and worked back ahead. 5 other games in the NHL tonight, including Tampa Bay and Pittsburgh, in a game that will be unlikely to be low scoring, but I know nothing. Flipped back along by Brian Ralston, who gets his first shift. David Clarkson is there. Rising shot, and that ricocheted up high. Came on back now for Green. Around behind to Clarkson. Out there, along with Ralston and Dinas Zubris. Knife down in front. Unable to see it, Colin Fraser, the one-time Blackhawk. But now it is sent back out for Eberle. And what does he have in his hip pocket here? He's able to sidestep the check. Crosses in front. Hit there. Help came from Fraser. Tried to tuck it along. And he scores! Colin Fraser, very persistent at the net, and bashed it in. And it's 1-0 in favor of Edmonton.
But Eberle all the way up the ice. It's all him. Now, Olchenkov hasn't seen Eberle. He doesn't know his speed. He doesn't know how quick he is with his hands. And Anton tries to throw a big hip check here, but catches only boards. Eberle jumps back. Good back check by both Clarkson and Zubris. But there you see Fraser following up. And here Fraser, one chance, gets a second one, Doc, and he knocks that out of the air. He banks it, I think, off Brodeur's pads. It's about a foot off the ice, and he whacked it into the empty net. In the first period, Blues are now over for the Oilers as they get a goal.
Colin Fraser's first goal since he was wearing the Warrior head on a red jersey. Meanwhile, this is Kovalchuk turning with this one. Ilya Kovalchuk just worming his way to the outside before he shuttled it on to Zajac. Zajac tries to shuffle it back, then decides forehand is the best move. Vasyunov sent it behind, lifted back along. Hemsky trying to mash it back out, can't do it. Eberle and Whitney get the assists on Colin Fraser's first of the year and as an Oiler. Speed sent it ahead. Hall with a crossover move, and no sale that time because of Talinder. And so it is rifled on across where Kovalchuk is able to look toward Vasyunov and go up the wing to Zajac. Travis Zajac, a shot, and it's covered by Dubnyk, a large human being at 6'6", 194.
Well, let's look at the reverse here. Now Fraser comes up. Two guys get a piece of Eberle. Now right here, shot, banks it. He banks it off Marty's pad. You're going to see it here. He's going to try to jam it. Or he flipped it up in the air. Let's see. Does he just do this out of raw skill? No. He banked it up and over Brodeur's pad. When it was in the air, he just slapped it into the net. And Marty Brodeur been very, very busy in this first period, Doc. Much more so than he was hoping for.
Shots are 5-2 in favor of the Oilers, who are harassed to the corner of their own defensive end right now. Elias working away, and Tedenby reached in and got it. Circles behind, and then popped one that bounced on back to center, where it's grabbed off and started on ahead by PRV. Tried to play the wing, but offside is called.
It's time for tonight's Geico quote book, and it's on Ilya Kovalchuk, and it's on moving on from Wednesday's loss. Today, the sun is up and everything is good. We have a game tonight, and we have to win it because we got to get a win at home. We haven't had one yet, and that's embarrassing. And you know what, Doc? It is, and there will be no excuses if they don't win tonight. There just absolutely won't be, because you just can't let Edmonton beat you at home when they played in Detroit the night before.
Volchenkov, a shot turned right back out again by Dubnyk. Another shot, and that one blocked in front. Carried away by Tom Gilbert, but given up to Zubris. Fed one on Ralston, a shot. That one chipped down and taken out by Jim Vandermeer. 30-year-old defenseman, former Blackhawk, brings it on and backhands one that's tended away by Brodeur and grabbed off by Ralston. Ahead for David Clarkson, sized up by Foster. Clarkson, a shot that is held by Dubnyk. No, you're right. Only 10 points for the Oilers, playing 10 of their first 16 on the road. 10 points in the other conference for New Jersey, who trails 1-0. Picks of the Oilers are in the line.
You know, it's been a few years, but do you remember when Jason Arnott was chosen in the first round by the Edmonton Oilers? He certainly does. Big smile on his face. He wore number 7. He was ripping pucks back then, still doing it today. One of those shots was a blazer by Marty Brodeur up in Edmonton. Doc just told me it was Halloween night. And do you know who won that game?
That was the Oilers, and that was the last goal of the night. Nope, the Oilers took that one. And I don't know. You would have been probably where at that time? In Tri-Cities?
Yes.
Off this face-off, it is rolled along and skipped around behind. So you wouldn't have been that far away from Edmonton, but probably 20 degrees warmer on Halloween. Jam back along for control by Adam Mayer. Mayer flipped it further. Twisting with this now is Giunta. Back to Mayer, and a shot skittered off the defender. And it is knifed around where it can be swept away from Sturtini and taken on by Giunta. Round behind for Adam Mayer. These are the entertainment guys who are out here right now, but Dustin Penner is a part of that. Here's Smead firing one on, and trouble came there as trying to play it back around was Curtis Foster. Still the battle on, and it is chipped along for another try by Stortini, and that won't go out either. So the Devils are succeeding with the forecheck, and perhaps some of it is mishandled by the Oilers. And you could say if you were a Devils fan, that's because of the pressure they're putting on them.
That's the positive spin.
It is a wipeout there, but a regain for Magnan. As it's played by Taramina ahead, Zajac fired it on the bounce back in, and retrieving this one now is Peckham. Theo Peckham tried to play it further, and around to get it is Sam Gagne, and Gagne is going to try to circle the wagons and use his speed. Not a bad idea. Hall connects right back to him. He's got Hemsky up the wing. Gagne with a shot, and that's deflected up into the mesh. Pretty good rush there by Edmonton.
Nice stick work by Colin White, and Johnny McLean saying this morning, it's getting better. We're so close. Really, we're this close. 4 goals scored, not including any empty nets. Was the first time they'd done that all season long on Wednesday. That was a good sign. There were a few defensive situations they're trying to clean up, but it has been one long stretch for the rookie coach. But I got to tell you, he always has had a positive attitude. He comes and he's trying to spin it in the right direction, but his team just needs to help it along by getting a win. That's what Ilya Kovalchuk said yesterday. We could talk about nothing else but getting a win. That's all that matters right now.
Devils have 4 of those in the first 16 games, as this is off Gilbert, taken along by Tedenby. Shoves it on back now for a wide shot. Knocked down in front. Tedenby trying to pull the trigger and then decides to carry behind, and Gilbert in his way. Pumped right back along to Tedenby again. Gives on to Patrick Elias, and a shot rattled off of the netminder's blocker. Good play there made by Dubnyk. Gilbert lifted one that careened right back out in front, and Dubnyk was able to grab that. Former Springfield Falcon and Stockton Thunder. All right.
Yeah, he's had a good start to his game, and he's needed it because you know what Tom Rennie was talking about this morning, what happened in Edmonton. You see the goals against us. We're seeing signs of it. When you could pin the Oilers into their end and start cycling and moving the puck, they're not real good yet at sorting it out and defending. And the Devils need to expose that like they have on the last 2 shifts, which have been very good in the Oilers' end.
Tumbling down was Everly, played back out by Brule, yanked across for the feed that is knifed on further by Travis Zajac. Strudwick and he go after this one. Zajac got as far as the corner before it was waltzed off, but Kovalchuk has it back. Volchenkov, a shot, save! And the big rebound hopped on back, and Volchenkov will try yet again. Played that one through. Vasyunov around behind, chased around by Whitney. Vasyunov lifted it further. Kovalchuk cycling to the outside. The Oilers do have trouble with the cycle. And so that's why the Devils are trying to do it. Vasyunov rushing back in. Bad change by the Oilers. Fed across to Kovalchuk. And no play results there. Kovalchuk again to the outside. Back now. Volchenkov a shot, and screened out was Dubnyk, but it went wide. Lifted back along, and on the bounce it can be played and shuttled back out by Curtis Foster.
Well, Vasyunov, that's just a rookie mistake. He's pressuring. He wants to get the puck to Kovalchuk and try and get him a goal. But really right now it's every man for himself. Now look at this. It's 2-on-1, and look at the opportunity. There you see Vasyunov look over, and for some reason he didn't take the shot. And he's talking now saying, what was I doing? I mean, those are inexplicable because you can't really say why you did it. He just wanted to get it over to Kovalchuk thinking he'd be open late.
Here's Taramina's shot, and that one's sent away by Dubnyk. Dubnyk had not started a game for 6 that Nikolai Hobby-Bulin handled. Here's a follow-up and a shot. Score! Oh, what a ripper from Colin Fraser, who is 2/3 of the way to a hat trick.
Well, you are going to see a stranger goal than this one. This is a high flip like a free catch or a punt in football. Watch, all the way up in the air, and we're all waiting. Magnan knocks it down, but it goes right to Fraser. Marty Brodeur is either distracted or has a screen. Watch this. Now, Magnan has to play the puck, but then he's pushed off it. In coming back, Taramina overruns the play, thinking he can get to the puck. But coming late is Fraser, and does he rip it on the short side. And really, Doc, I don't know if there so far could have been a worst case scenario for the Devils than what we've seen to start this game. Pressure, no goals, but they've given up 2.
7 shots by the Oilers, 8 by New Jersey, 2 by Fraser, and you noticed how anxious he was for the resulting face-off at center.
He
I'm
can get
hot,
there
let me at it here. And play stopped on an offside. A halt to play midway in the first period of a game that the Oilers are leading the Devils 2-0.
Well, do you remember the Mickey Mouse game? It was that man there, Wayne Gretzky, said the Devils organization was a Mickey Mouse organization. So the next time the Oilers came to town, it was a whale of a night. Here you're going to see Aaron Broughton off the pass from Patty Verbeek. We were winning that game, and then Robbie Palmer and Chico Resch went for the same man. Easy goal for Messier. We ended up losing that game 5-4, but what a wonderful night it was. There you see the mouse ears. Everybody had mouse ears they had given away. I think we had a penalty shot by Rocky Trache and went right down to the wire. But unfortunately, Doc, the result wasn't what we were hoping for. But it was a very special night for everyone who was there, and I think everyone who played.
And it stemmed from a 13-4 game that the Oilers won in Edmonton, in which both of the Devils goalies played. Puck out of play into the Devils bench area and very close to Johan Hedberg. And it was when the score was 12-4 that the Devils went on a power play, and my friend Mr. Resch went to the bench and said, "Boys, let's just not get scored on here." And that was when Glenn Sather put out no less than Wayne Gretzky and Yari Curry, and it became 13-4. That was the last goal of the night.
You are right, Doc. Glenn Sather had no trouble running up the score in those days, and I don't blame him. I don't blame him, because why wouldn't you?
Here's Kovalchuk, a shot that ricocheted off of Peckham. Dustin Penner out there wearing uniform number 27. Angled on back and tipped back further. Vasyunov there. Kovalchuk swept one that Zajac takes behind, has Vasyunov in front. Stashed it where he was headed, he thought, but instead it's taken by Ryan Whitney. Dave Semenko made number 27 famous, and Dustin Penner has it now. Different psyche of player. Big drive by Zajac, high off of Dubnyk, and controlled back out again by Cogliano. Out of St. Mike's and spent 2 years playing for Red Berenson at Michigan, he did. Here is Smead bringing it on and shooting, and it's towed back out by Brodeur, grabbed by David Clarkson. Dealt back in by Clarkson and stopped by Dubnyk.
Well, the Devils have to just stay with it, Doc. They've got to get the puck in to the Oilers' end, either by carrying it or soft dumps, make good puck position so they can get to it.
Offside on that pass.
And that's what Ilya Kovalchuk was talking about yesterday. This has been a tough stretch. Our dump-ins aren't even where they need to be. And here is just an indication of his struggles. 0 goals in the last 7. His longest scoring drought is 9. When I talked to him yesterday, I said, "Doc, you got to grow your game in other ways then. If the goals aren't coming, you got to be good defensively," which I've been watching. He's back-checking hard. You know, he's trying to be strong along the boards. You got to do the other things, because everyone, and how many times have you heard a guy with that talent, it's got to break loose soon? Like almost every day.
Yeah.
But you keep thinking, well, tonight's the night. Oh, no, I guess it's not. Well, the next game's the night. But in between, Ilya just has to keep playing strong when he doesn't have the puck, and hope that that his luck finally changes, because he just cannot believe how bad his luck has been. And I said, "We haven't lost your sense of humor." He said, "No, even I had a chuckle after I thought about it. What happened to me the other night, where the puck went up into the mesh on a shot, flipped over my stick on the shootout." What do you do, Doc? Drive yourself crazy if you just keep focusing on how poorly it's gone, and it's not from lack of trying.
Ooh, there's a leaping hit into David Clarkson, and that came courtesy of Zach Stortini, and that will bring Clarkson and Stortini together. And Clarkson with a quick right, Stortini trying to throw them too. These are not newcomers to scraps.
Well, this started in a fashion where Stortini throws this big right and David Clarkson ducks. And Stortini threw the punch so hard he was off balance, and David was able to land one. Then the helmet of Stortini came flying off. Now this is old-time hockey, Doc. With the hair flying, as well as the fists. Oh boy. Johnny McLean was saying this morning, he said David Clarkson, last game was his best of the season. It started against the Rangers, and here tonight he's trying to be a force again. He's got to be careful, eh? Just when you think there's a lull, all of a sudden, one of them's getting ready to throw another big right. And that was a good scrap. That was a good fight.
Well, in the last 4 years, you see the height and the weight. Counting that one, 68 for Stortini, 51 for Clarkson. Asked David this morning if he knew how many fights he'd had, and he guessed 10 fewer than what he actually had. But you look at their hands and you realize they've struck some helmets in their time. So far this season, the most, Zenon Konopka of the Islanders, Anaheim and Pittsburgh with the most team fights. Devils with 13, Oilers with 12. The last 4 years, Anaheim the most fistic, Detroit the least. 5-minute fighting majors, but an additional minor is assessed to David Clarkson here. He gets an instigation penalty.
Okay, watch this here right off the bat. Just want to see the first couple of punches. Stortini with a big check, and David says, let's go. Now, right coming up here, watch Stortini's first punch. Whoa, but he missed. He glazed the helmet, and that threw his helmet and himself off balance. David was able to throw a couple of rights, but then Stortini righted himself, and it was a pretty even scrap after that. But I tell you, Stortini went for the knockout punch on that first one. He just reared back.
17 minutes in one fell swoop for David Clarkson, adding to the 34 that he has for the year. So half again as many on one play. Entertaining as it was for the fans here, a scrap with Zach Stortini. Okay, here's Whitney as they operate on the power play, trying to make this 3-0. Hands it across to Ales Hemsky. 8th year in the Oilers organization. Hemsky leads it on back to Whitney. The ex-Penguin gave it across. Waiting and then firing one into Brodeur was Curtis Foster.
Well, that was interesting, Doc. I didn't think David Clarkson was going to get an instigator. Yeah, he did sort of confront Stortini, but he doesn't jump him or he doesn't really go grab him. Well, maybe just a little, but nevertheless, the Devils have to kill off a power play. Marty Brodeur seeing a lot more rubber than he or his coaching staff or teammates had planned tonight. They really wanted to come out strong, play it tight defensively, and get that first goal.
Instigators have been popular this year. That's the 11th instigation penalty so far. A lot more than last year at this point. Foster a drive, directed away by Green, who puts the lumber into Penner.
Well, number 26 here, Foster, perhaps probably the hardest shot in the league.
6'5", 223. Skilled guy, been around a while. Dealt back along now for Sam Gagner to lead behind. Penner looking there toward Hemsky, watched by Elias. Inside the box is Whitney now, and he drifts away. So Hemsky goes in as this is shaken on to Penner. Angles it geometrically over to Hemsky. Hemsky trying to shake Pelly. Hemsky just cruises around now. Meanwhile, it's angled back off and punched out by Elias. To the last 3/4 of a minute of the power play for the Oilers, the second one in the game for them. They had 2 shots on goal in their first opportunity, which came up empty. Gagner, while falling, played it on to Hemsky, got it on to Taylor Hall, then back to Gagner again. Widens things out a little bit. Gagner challenged by Zajac, led it back, but over the line, and Whitney must recover at center.
Brian Ralston will also help on the penalty kill, which he's doing now.
Tom Gilbert worked that one ahead, the All-American out of Wisconsin, as this is flung right back and blocked away by Dubnyk.
You know, he hasn't missed a game in 4 years. That's pretty impressive.
Played right back out again. He sure is. Attendance in a collision sport, especially when you're a defenseman with the new rules and you wind up with your face on the glass a lot. Here is Hall stepping away with it, and a shot shrugged away by Brodeur, and then he flexed out and punched it away. Nudged back out by Pelly and carried on by Tedenby. Full strength action. Tedenby drops. Pelly the shot that is towed up into the mesh by Peckham. Play halted here. Latter stages first period. 9 shots each, and the Oilers by 2.
Steve Cangelosi back at Prudential Center. Devils fans are getting their first look at Taylor Hall, the #1 pick in the draft. Doc and Chico, he doesn't celebrate his 19th birthday until tomorrow. This is all a learning process for him. There's a 6-part documentary on the Edmonton Oilers being shot, so he walked into something that not every #1 pick has to face. He was excited to learn that Marty Brodeur was back from injury, and he'd face one of his heroes in the game tonight. And also, it's a learning process every night. For instance, last night, taking on the great Detroit defenseman last night, Lidstrom. He beat him twice down his side in the game, and he says the key is to not be in awe of these players not long ago that he was cheering. Doc?
Beat Nick Lidstrom twice in one night. There are guys that don't do that in this season, going down that side.
Yeah, I'd have to see those to make sure. I'm not doubting Mr. Taylor, but to beat Nicholas Lidstrom clean. There's that goal. You see here now, see Taramina goes behind. He didn't know where the puck was. He had to make a choice, and he went closer to the net, but the puck bounced the other way, and Fraser picked it up and ripped it home.
Angled back off the short glass, but away from Hemsky, though not away from Hall, though taken back by Vasyunov. So Taramina hands it across, and it's brought out by Talinder. Dropped ahead, but flexed away by Vandermeer. Gotten by Kovalchuk, dances around behind, and topped one on for Vasyunov. On the cycle, they try to get that going. Here's Kovalchuk there. Rifled it in front, went off Vasyunov and squibbed wide to be taken along by Ryan Whitney. Boston University product watches this go ahead now to Hemsky, and Hemsky is able to drop it back in. Marty Brodeur left it. Taramina cleared it ahead. Vasyunov across now to Zajac. Marches on with Elias. Drops it on to him. Here's Elias. It goes to the backhand and floats it behind to Zajac. In front, Vasyunov scores! Vasyunov with his first NHL goal has cut the lead in half.
And it's a big goal it is for the youngster. Vasyunov, it's interesting. Kovalchuk changed early, but Zajac and Vasyunov stayed out there, and I was thinking, guaranteed the next time he gets a chance to shoot, he's going to shoot it. I'm sure Ilya Kovalchuk said to the kid, you get a chance in a good scoring spot to shoot it, let it go. But what a pass. Travis Zajac fading away here. Patrick Elias heads up play. Soft little dump behind. And look at that thread the needle pass by Zajac, and all alone in front for his first National Hockey League goal. Vasyunov, and a big one it is.
Thrown around by Eberle on to Schmid. Popped on for Jones, and the shot turned away by Brodeur. So just that quickly, the Oilers back with an attack. Eberle threw one in front, swatted away near Arnott, grabbed by Elias, and lobbed off Arnott's stick for Tedenby. He steps in, he's got Arnott, fires one, and a kneeling block by Schmid. Elias chipped it further. Schmid seems to have been handicapped by that block. Meanwhile, taken on by Elias, and he's sent down to the ice. So Colin White will go back to get it. Coming to the bench, Curtis Foster, who just made the big hit. Jammed around by Strudwick. Taken there by Whitney. Given up to Zubris, though. Zubris threw it in front, spiked wide by Mayer. Taken along by Volchenkov. Volchenkov trying to pull his way behind, no luck, keeps going, has it, feeds it back off to the outside. Mayer threw it, gotten by Elias. Elias a shot that's turned aside by Strudwick. A little ragged out there right now. Carried back out again by Cogliano. Moving on ahead for the Oilers. Cogliano with a shot, stopped by Brodeur, paddled away, knifed right back behind the net, taken by Penner, and Penner's pass goes all the way back to center. So here's Vandermeer. Trouble for Magnan. Darted away from Gagne. Flipped away from Kovalchuk. Kept by Gilbert. Hemsky with this. Then Vandermeer again. Don't know what the turnover count is, but it must be high compared to most games. Kovalchuk trying to rag his way through. Tied up enough by Vandermeer that he could not go. Carried ahead by Gagne. Laid ahead for Hemsky. And this will be an offside.
Well, one of the things that concerned Tom Rennie was his team's coverage on the rush. And here you see the Devils just get in the zone very easily. Little give and go. Zajac to Elias down deep. And then coming late, just where he should, the youngster. He's not in your screen yet. You see how he quickly two-stepped around his check, which was Eberle. He set up, and then at the right moment, the perfect timing, he just jumped loose from his check, was all alone at the edge of the crease, and deflected it home. And we're seeing what has ailed the Oilers, Doc. They'll do some good things for a short period of time off the rush. Then they spend long periods of time in their own end not having the puck, chasing it. And that has been a concern. But, you know, with a bunch of young players, not just young, but they haven't even played together as a group, it takes time to get that cohesiveness defensively. And I don't think that has kicked in yet for the Oilers.
Zajac and Elias got the assists on the goal by Vasyunov. Patrick Elias with now 5 assists in the last 4 games. This thrown around by Talinder. Turned by Vasyunov around for a play to be made to Kovalchuk. Trying to dance free, and they're all over him. And that's no surprise. Eberle tipping it to center. Laid across by Talinder, and Taramina takes. 1:45 to go, first period of this 2-1 game led by the Oilers. Vasyunov brings it on and shoots one, and that one just blocked down by Schmid. Helped on back now. Taramina a shot, and that one booted wide. Kovalchuk able to play that one, wants to dance away from Schmid, gives it back to Taramina, and a shot ladled toward the front by Gianta. Poked that side of the net. Bouncing puck is rescued by Kovalchuk. Tries to feed the front, cannot, and Kovalchuk is able to walk away with it, and then had trouble because of Cogliano. Schmid connects with Whitney. Back out it comes again for the turn by Piarvi, but no luck there. Piarvi not nearly as noticeable as Colin Fraser has been in this first period, but he is young yet. Played along now by Taramina, tipped further by Gianta, and in the final minute of play, it's whacked at there and driven along by Peckham.
Yeah, Piarvi, his name sounds Finnish, and his grandfather was, but he's really a Swedish player. And he's fast. He played with Tenenby on the World Junior team, Doc, and they were lightning quick. I asked them both today who was the quickest, and they both agreed that it was Tenenby just by a helmet.
By a helmet.
By a helmet. By the front of the helmet. Which sticks out past the nose, actually. As you see, the Devils getting feisty here at the end of this period.
Tenenby played in 2 World Juniors, got a bronze in one and a silver medal in the other.
Yeah, here you're going to see the Devils moving this puck around again. And they will find some open space. And they will have good success. If they use their defense, they get it down low and make those Oilers swirl and twirl and try and sort it out in a hurry. Because that has been their Achilles heel so far.
Elias pushed one hard off the netminder Dubnyk. Zubras got it on. Thrown in front. Oh, and Elias denied. Perfect setup there, and Patrick usually buries those. It's carried back on by Ryan Jones. Jones holding, tried to swing one in front. It's carried around. Piarvi gets some help there from Strudwick to play it around behind. Dug out and flipped back on by Jones, but waiting is Zubras, given a shoulder by Hemsky. As very quickly Hemsky and Gagne have gotten back out there, and Jones is the only straggler in the bunch. And the horn sounds to end period number 1.
Oh, what a save at the end of the period. Dubnyk with a sheer robbery on Patrick Elias, or this game would be tied. But Doc, he's 6'6". So scoring low on this young man is going to be difficult unless you have a lot of net. And Patrick Elias still shaking his head after that last chance.
2-1 in favor of Edmonton after 1. Devils fans looking our way for you to catch only the games that fit your schedule. Design your own personal Devils ticket plan with our Flex ticket package. Pick your games, pick your seats. It's that simple. Call a Devils ticket representative today at 1-800-NJ-DEVIL or visit NewJerseyDevils.com to get started. Don't miss any of the exciting action at the Rock this season. Join the Devils Army today. Travis Zajac is with Steve.
Primary assist on the goal by Vasyunov, Doc, and we'll hear from him now. His team was trailing by 2 pretty early in the hockey game, and it came at a point in time where you really weren't being outplayed. Travis, how difficult is that to overcome, really, mentally?
Well, I think if we stick with it, we're getting our chances. We just got to be a little better defensively, and mentally, I think we just got to stay focused on the task at hand here.
John McClain saw something in Vasyunov to give him playing time with the top line tonight. He pays dividends. You set him up for the lone goal of the night. Tell me a little bit about him. He's a player so far that flies under the radar because we've seen so many rookies on this team this year.
Yeah, he plays with a lot of speed, a lot of skill. He's plays with no fear out there, and that's good. He's going to the net, he's making plays, and he's got a lot of confidence right now.
There are a lot of big games, obviously, at this stage of the season because you're looking for your first home win. But with how it ended the other night against Buffalo, did it add a little special something more to tonight's matchup against Edmonton?
Yeah, I think, it's been a struggle for us at home, and we want to play well. I think we came out all right. They got a few on us, but if we keep going here, we're going to get a win.
Good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you.
Travis Zajac and the Devils trail. 2-1 is the score. 20 minutes in the book. Stay tuned for the Dunkin' Donuts first intermission report. Ken Danico along, and Jim Dowd joins us for the first intermission as well. We'll talk to the Jersey native. 2-1, Edmonton on top.
Jersey Devils Intermission Report is presented by Dunkin' Donuts. Stop in to Dunkin' Donuts for the delicious new sausage pancake bites. Get 3 for only $1.59 today. Prices and participation may vary, plus applicable taxes. Limited time offer.
Devils hockey on MSG Plus is brought to you in part by Subway Restaurants, home of the famous $5 footlong sub, and by your Tri-State Cadillac dealers. Visit CadillacTristate.com to find a dealer near you.
Well, Devils have been outscored, Doc, 27-11 in the second period. Oilers been outscored 14-12. So in so many ways, this second period means so much to both teams, but especially the Devils, if they're going to finally get their first home win of the season here tonight.
Dean Morton to drop the puck between Gagne and Zajac. Tim Peel is the other referee. Pierre Champoux, 23rd year. Jean Morin, 20th year. A veteran linesman pair working this game tonight.
And they handle that fight very well.
Yeah, just the right time, and the fight did not lack for entertainment value. Kovalchuk with a pass ahead. Spinning with this is Zajac. Back to Kovalchuk. Dips the shoulder. Works it back onto Vasyunov. Gives it on to Zajac. Side of the net. Kovalchuk knocked away. Vasyunov a shot blocked down. And battled for there by Hall, but taken along by Zajac. Feathered on through, but grabbed by Gagne. Sped ahead to Hall up the wing. Sized up by Green. Drops it off to Hemsky. Hemsky feeds the trailer Whitney. And Whitney didn't have much but humanity in his shooting pad. Hemsky fed one across. That one chopped away by Green. Whitney a shot pad stop Brodeur. And the rebound hopped on for Kovalchuk. Darts back up the wing. Kovalchuk crosses with it now. Shoots one that's deflected up over the mesh and into humanity.
Well, Marty Brodeur played very strong. He told me this morning, Doc, when he had to move his arm sideways with power, no problem. The only little twinge he felt was when he had to reach out, extend his arm in front of him and say, pull the puck into him. But then he said it would just be a quick, sharp pain, but then it would go away. And obviously by now, I don't think it's even a factor because he has been terrific. The other thing I want to say, what's happening with the Kovalchuk, Zajac, Vasyunov line is what exactly has to happen on every line. The center of attention is becoming Travis Zajac, not Ilya Kovalchuk. And look at the way Travis has taken that puck, looking over the situations, making nice plays. That's what Kovalchuk wants, and that's certainly what Travis Zajac wants, and it's starting to happen.
Here comes Elias to earn it, wide with a shot. Played back along and carried out again by Penner. Penner trying to turn by Terlinder. The two of them cancel, and Penner right back, but help from Cogliano. Trying to play it in front, can't. Rugby scrum, and emerging is Penner. The big man wheels, tried to trickle a pass in front. No luck there. Elias turns with that. Elias rifled a pass on, away from Tedden being down, but off him, so no icing. Everly twisted it back, lifted right back in again, and speeding after it is Ryan Jones. On the forecheck, it's Brule.
I'm sorry, Jason Arnott's over there chuckling. Patrick just sat down after he missed that chance, Doc.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you do? Like, Jason just cannot believe it. There's not a better scoring chance in the world for the big guy than that one-timer where he's got half the net. But he pulled it a little.
Half the net, and as you observed, a very large person in front of it, too. So you just can't, it's not an empty one to blast at. as we get that one a signal deflection, and they're going to call this play back out to center.
Well, now you're going to see the turnover, and the Oilers will give you these, but look at Jason. He's got the whole side of the net, although I'm going to tell you, Dubnyk gets over there, and here's a good look. Oh, off the pipe. Okay, good. I mean, that helps a little bit, makes Jason feel a little better that at least he hit some iron. But the Devils really starting to take advantage of the Oilers' turnovers, which has plagued them not only this road trip, but really since the first couple games of the season.
Stortini chased out. Fraser takes the draw. Shoveled back off the boards. Fraser after that, but it's taken by Ralston and handed behind. So Talinder, smoked out by the forecheck of Stortini, leads it ahead, and Zubras charges up the wing and throws one that deflected right in on goal and is held by Dubnyk.
Well, Dubnyk, as you mentioned, Doc, he's 6'6", still not 200 pounds except when he puts his equipment on. But Tom Rennie was saying, what do I like about this guy when he was asked? He says he's got great legs, terrific lateral movement, he uses his strength real well, and he controls rebounds very, very efficiently. He said, he sounds like he's an all-star. And you know what, Doc, when I look at this kid, he's got that potential. Being that large with those quick reflexes and those long legs and this terrific butterfly, there isn't anything that he shouldn't be able to accomplish when it comes to goaltending.
Another of the first rounders, picked 14th overall in 2004 by the Oilers, 5th year in their system. Up the boards with it is Hemsky. Hemsky watched there by Magnan, pushed it back in, and Brodeur just ladled it along. Volchenkov in a collision there. Nothing odd for him there, but the puck popped over the side glass and out of play.
Well, we've shown Jason Arnott a lot tonight when he was a rookie with the Oilers, scoring a goal, hitting the post tonight. And he has been on a bit of a run the last 3 games, 3 goals, 13 shots. That last one that hit the iron doesn't register as anything but a painful reminder that you got to move it over 3 inches. But the good news is Patrick Elias really has his game going too, Doc. And he is really finding the open men.
Been consistent in getting points at a time that the Devils are not getting much scoring. This one left by Tedenby around behind, and Penner is there. Coughed up, but fortunately for the Oilers, it came for a rocking hit by Volchenkov on Piarvi. Meanwhile, carried back ahead by Penner, has Cogliano, and it's sent off him in wide rebound. Brodeur tangled a moment, and the loose puck went off the outside of the cage near the post, swept back out by Tedenby, and handed across to Foster. And so it is occasionally Keystone Cops in there. Cogliano trying to step ahead, went down, and Arnott is able to bring this back ahead. Has Elias nearby and lays it across to Patrick Elias for a shot that is trapped and held on that oil drop by the netminder Dubnyk.
Well, we are going to see some exciting plays all night long, not just because of the skill, but also crazy bounces. Look at Marty Brodeur is caught, but he's able to throw the left leg back and rob Justin Penner. Now this handcuffs Marty as it changed direction off the side of the net, but that baby's in the goal if Marty Brodeur doesn't get that left pad down. And then Elias comes down and he rips one at the other team's goalie. So, Doc, we are seeing high-flying offense here. And great goaltending once again.
Green with a shot that is deflected wide by Dubnyk. To no one's surprise, the goalies usually perform well in these games that we watch together. Turned along by Steven Giunta, and then he was carried off with Brule, and the crowd responds to a collision. Back ahead off his knees, Eberle able to rip it right back around, hoping for someone other than Andy Green, who tipped it further. Brule able to battle it with Green. Pelly goes down too. Coming by to get this is Ryan Jones. Miami University product. Trickled it behind. Brodeur helped it further. Ryan Whitney comes to cut it off at the half boards. And around behind again for Green. So it is exchanges of possession. Trickled back out by Giunta, read by Whitney, and eventually played and ripped back out again by Vandermeer. Carried right back ahead. This is Gagne dropping, Hemsky taking, watched there by Giunta. And Hemsky just circles with it now. Vandermeer running a moving pick. And it comes back for a drive that is deflected away by Colin White as Whitney was trying to set up Hemsky. taken by Gagne. He's got Hall in front, and that one skipped on back. Vandermeer a shot, and that one booted back before it got to Marty Brodeur. Vandermeer hooked it across. Ralston able to send it back in, flexed away, and Taylor Hall able to take it at center as a fire wagon change for the Devils. 2-on-1. Gagne's got Hemsky and tried to play it across in a diving play to Linder. Rebound, another one. Rebound, they score! Side of the net. Gagne has made it a 3-1 game.
And he also bangs this out of the air. This is the second goal we've seen tonight where the scoring player has to knock the puck with it being a foot off the ice. Now the Devils look like they're going to dodge a bad change. But Talinder sweeps it out. Hall with a shot and then make that 2 feet. Sam Gagné with that new look mustache of his gets down low and bangs it in. There you see the stash. All of November, about 10 or 11 of the Oilers are trying to grow mustaches. And try, I must say, because I got a close-up look at some of them, Doc, but they're such young kids, right?
Yeah.
They don't have the mustaches, the thick mustaches that they're going to have down the road. Hopefully.
Some jostling behind. The Gillette people hope you are right. Taken on now by Penner and stashed wide. Reaching Cogliano, but taking Tedenby and back out. PRV was able to glove it across, and it's thrown right back in by Strudwick, and Talinder turns. So Matt Taramina with 5:50 played in the second. The shot's even at 15, but the goals are not. The Oilers again have their 2-goal lead. Tedenby there. Canceled out and has to work further off Curtis Foster. Tedenby able to escape around behind. Turns to the outside. Knifed away by Schmid. Kept alive, though, and dealt right back in where Kovalchuk can take it. Has Zajac at the front. Wipes out, though. Zajac comes by. Able to yank it free nicely to Kovalchuk. Kovalchuk with lots of moves. Still able to control. Kovalchuk just weaves his way to the outside now. Going for a skate with it. Hands it on back for Magnan. Magnan dropped it back. Taken there. A shot. Trigger pull. Zajac is stoned by Dubnyk. After having a couple of whacks at it was Vasyunov.
Boy, this line is really coming alive. Another great scoring chance, but only the 1 goal by Vasyunov.
Stopped around behind, and then eventually it is flung back by the Oilers. Will go all the way down for an icing touch-up.
Well, let's look at that third goal by the Oilers, and change is so important here. And there you're going to see all those red jerseys changing, and by the time they start it out, it's a 2-on-1. Good play by Talinder. He goes down, blocks the pass, tries to sweep it away, but Hall banks it off Marty Brodeur. And in the air, Sam Gagné, coaches will tell you, stop. Don't continue on behind the net. Gagné dug in his blades, took a step to the front of the net, and there, sure enough, the puck came. Although it was 2 feet off the ice, he was still able to hammer it home. And players work on those drills all the time, Doc. Shoot the puck, stop in front of the net. Don't continue on. Don't just float behind the goal line. And it paid off for Gagné.
No flybys, people.
No flybys.
Here's Elias with it now. Dropped it on for Arnott's shot. Getting a piece of it was Dubnyk. And out of play, it sails. Hall and Hemsky, the assists on Gagne's 4th of the year. The Oilers are back ahead by a couple.
Goaltender pad should not exceed 11 inches. Now I'm going to show you here. Patrick Elias doesn't get it up, and Dubnyk robs him late in the period. But earlier, now watch the difference. Dubnyk's there with his pad, but this time Vasyunov elevates it and puts it in the net. Here again in the second period, there's been a couple of opportunities where the Devils have had the puck in close. They've shot it on the ice dock, and there isn't much chance of it getting by the big goalie when it's down there. They've got to at least get it up 12 to 14 inches. Or higher, as Jason Arnott's trying. He's trying to go right up under the crossbar, but that hasn't worked for him yet either.
This is Hall bringing it on. Now you'd sense with a real tall goaltender that shooting high, he'd be in the way of that too. Here's Gilbert trying to make the play, but it's probably better because he tends to go down early. Is that what you're saying?
Good point, Doug. You want to rebound, shoot it low.
Here's Vasyunov with a shot, and that held by Dubnyk, who was down. And it was shot right into him, but he did stop it. Great goalie.
Yes, thank you, Doc. Around the NHL is brought to you by your Tri-State Cadillac dealers. Visit CadillacTristate.com to find a dealer near you. Hey, Devils are going on the road. This is some of the players that they're not going to see. You're going to see not going to see Dave Gracey as he's missed the last 2 games. He's had a concussion. Leafs, they're struggling, 7 straight losses, so hopefully that'll be good news for the Devils. And then DJ Oshie broke his ankle, Doc. In a not really a fight, he grabbed a player on the other team and pulled him back, and his ankle snapped on him, and that's a big blow for St. Louis, as they have been lights out at home. I think they lost their first point at home the other night in overtime.
Tied with Detroit for the Central Division lead, 21 points, just 1 behind the conference leading Los Angeles.
Right, and the executive of the year is John Davidson and Doug Armstrong for making the trade with Montreal to get Yaroslav Halak, a goaltender, the most important player once again.
Meanwhile, it is a battle in the corner to a side. I can't argue with you on that case, that's for sure. Halak has been marvelous. Ralston gives it across. Zubris brings it on. Twist now. Drops it in for Brian Ralston. Has Pelly drifting in front. He moves around behind. Away by Piarvi. Pelly run into by Schmid. Piarvi jostled by Zubris. Up the boards, it's Ralston, and it's popped back to center. Nearing the halfway point of regulation time. 11:33 to go, second period of a 3-1 Edmonton Oilers lead. Up the boards, fished on the back end of Arnott, thrown out in front by Ralston, and then stashed wide off a defenseman's skate by Tedenby. This is Arnott with it again. Drifts now. Looked from a bad angle and fired one that came right back off of Schmid. Around behind Tedenby, able to shake loose. Bet one in front. Elias couldn't get it. Another try by Arnott, and that one flopped wide. Arnott up with it again. Trickles one in front, blocked away by Dubnyk. Knifed back on by Stortini as far as center. Cranked back in by Volchenkov, went through Dubnyk. Meanwhile, came back up for the stash back to center by Eberle. Ripped on now for control of Elias. So the Devils trail by 2. Patrick Elias brings it on, gives it on to Arnott. He's got a man breaking Tedenby, but that one is flexed back out. Devils in the midst of a change. As ahead comes Eberle, twisting with it. Stortini heads to the net. Eberle preoccupied with Talinder. And then it's back for Eberle's shot that went off Stortini and then flopped wide. Drive by Whitney, deflected off Brodeur and hopped wide. Elias jams it on back. A lot of offensive opportunity at both ends here.
And don't you think the Devils now are forced to take some chances offensively? They can't afford to play it tight. They need to get 2 goals just to catch up.
There were times when you would not say it this early. But right. You do need to say it this early now as Zajac drifts behind. The halfway point has been reached. All the way down, this one sails, and Tom Gilbert is back to get it. Ahead now to Hemsky, sized up by Green. Hemsky trying to get by, and Green says no. Andy Green hemmed in. Puck gotten now by Hall, and a save. Brodeur scramble there. Loose puck, and Brodeur is still able to hang on to it in the goal crease. And we get a halt to play. 9:40 to go, second period. And it's still the Oilers 3 and the Devils with 1.
Taylor Hall comes out of the corner, and that's what he sees where that circle is. He tries to go 5-hole. Okay, that's fine. Devils coverage in front, but watch 89. One dig, another dig. He's still jabbing away. And I know what Kenny Danico's doing up in his booth, Doc. He's going crazy. Somebody's got to drill that guy. I don't know if you take a penalty when you're down 3-1. Can you go and just reach somebody who's digging away at your goaltender? I don't know if now's the timing. Kenny maybe will comment on that with Steve. But I do know this. Marty Brodeur was a little slow getting up. I don't know if he took a stick when all that scrum was going on in the inside of the leg or not, but he looks to be fine.
Mr. Danico probably saw a future of stitches and broken teeth for that Mr. 89 in a different era. But we are in a different one now as Green turns and is able to shake the forecheck of Brian Jones. Ripped across with a drop back in by Volchenkov, who banged into the boards and glass hard in his own volition. It's taken by Zubris and handed on across. Andy Green with it there. That one swatted right back out again by Peckham, and we get a stoppage of play. Tomorrow night on MSG Plus, catch an all-new Hockey Night Live. Join Al Trautwig along with Ken Danico, Dave Maloney, and special guest analyst Mark Streit For a full breakdown of the local hockey scene, be watching tomorrow night at 9:30 on MSG+.
You know, Doug, you spin things in a positive way. You were saying there's been a lot of exchange of possessions. Now, that's a nice way of saying turnovers. But this has got to be driving both coaches crazy. The number of times each team is allowing the change of possession to be made without a lot of resistance.
I believe the phrase was turnovers in the first period, but unless Dunkin' Donuts is sponsoring, we go to something else in the second. Around to the outside now, it's Hemsky. Oh, he's got Taylor Hall in front, and he's able to shake that down. Hall to the outside, just drifting with it now. Hall circling, throwing, blocked by Brodeur. Loose puck in front, swatted away, and started back up by Tedenby. Vandermeer watching him defensively. Plenty of people back. Tedenby's shot is stopped by Dubnyk and can be started back by Hall and filtered across. There is a pond nature to this game, is there not? So it is held and just dangled there by Gagne. Plays it on to Penner. Penner able to gallop around behind. Big man is carried off by another big man in Colin White. White able to step with this one, and he's trying to play it further, but it's cut by Cogliano. Nearly cut down by Tedenby. Back ahead Schmid and Brodeur. Fired back ahead, and it's sent on to Kovalchuk. Kovalchuk able to pull his way in, but offside is called.
Well, if you're observant tonight, you'll only see two letters on the shoulders of the players. Elias has one, Kovalchuk has one. Their captain, Jamie Langenbrunner, not in the lineup. And I want to clear this up. Colin White said about Jamie, I look up to Jamie. He is our leader. I've always looked up to him, and I've told him that I don't think our leadership, our team's leadership, can be challenged. And I can't emphasize that enough. Jamie Langenbrunner gets a lot of unnecessary criticism. Doc, I'm trying to tell people, the players in that locker room think Jamie is a wonderful captain. That leadership is not a problem. It wasn't last year in the playoffs. And I've heard fans criticize Jamie for not wanting to sit out at the end of the season, and that carried over to the playoffs. That's a bunch of bonk, Doc. I mean, Jamie Langenbrunner, he comes and he plays with all he's got. He's conscientious. He's sensitive to his teammates, says the right thing, plays hard, and I just think that's an avenue you don't want to go down, and I'm glad that Colin White stepped up and said it.
Well, it is always easy if you're not aware of what's going on, and it's very easy from a distance to make that assessment until you really know the inner workings of the team. And let's face it, fans are not given that avenue.
Exactly.
So sometimes they say things that they can't back up, but they don't have the opportunity to substantiate because they don't get the information. This is jammed loose and taken on now by Fraser, nudged it to the front, but this is guided on now to Kovalchuk. He brings it back out, and it's laid on to Adam Mayer, and Mayer crosses and shoots one that went wide. Lifted along by Strudwick. Stortini couldn't stop that. Duels with Magnan, but it winds up being an offside. 100 years ago tonight, the National Hockey Association, because the NHL hadn't even existed yet, the National Hockey Association decided to go from 2 30-minute periods to 3 20-minute periods, including a 10-minute intermission. Somebody must have wanted to sell stuff.
You think that was it?
Yeah,
but nothing to do with the ice.
No, that was the principle. The principle was we can make better ice. When it comes between the principle and the money, it's the money. Probably.
Yes.
But we don't know the price of hot dogs back then. Probably less than a nickel. Angled back in, and Gilbert is nudged off by Zajac. Taken on by Kovalchuk. Kovalchuk sends it back. Drive by Volchenkov, deflected to the glass. Turn back along again. Zajac to take it. Travis Zajac gives it on to Kovalchuk. Tries to work through. Forearm shiver. Knocks Gilbert Brule there. And a drive by Volchenkov is turned aside by Dubnyk. It is Vasyunov trying to filter it through. Cannot. Gives it on back. Volchenkov rattle it around. It skipped over the stick of Zajac. Comes on to Magnan. Jammed it on back, and Kovalchuk will go back to retrieve this with under 6.5 to go in the second.
You know, quarterback in football, he'll recognize when his running back has the legs and the perception of the game, and he's on a roll. That's the same thing happening to Zajac. The Devils want to get the puck in Zajac's hands as often as they can.
Here's Hemsky with a shot, and that deflected wide as Volchenkov got in the way of that. Now it is taken and sent along by Clarkson, waiting for it and lifting it back out was the defenseman Talinder.
Travis just has that snarl. I watched that last shift. He just knocked over, I think it was Gilbert, took the puck, made the right play. He is in the zone tonight, and if he can get the puck enough times, he'll set up some people.
Hall drops it back in, and it is handed on to Gagne by Hemsky. A backhander in front and a save by Brodeur, as Hall was a moving screen on Brodeur in front. One-handed back out by Talinder, chopped on by Clarkson, and drubbed back in again by Ralston so that Dubnyk can twist it on for Whitney, and then it is handed on for Strudwick. Strudwick turned it back along, and it is Hall, second effort, flexing it to center. Brushed loose, but into Hemsky. He steps ahead, takes his own pass, hands it on to Hall, and a piece of that for Brodeur, and the rest to the mesh. 5:12 to go, second period. 3-1, the visitors.
You know, just raw great talent will beat good defense anytime. Now Hemsky here is going to have this puck bouncing up in the air. Oilers have been good about getting to bouncing pucks. Hemsky is surrounded by three players. Through the legs of Giunta, over to Taylor Hall, who rips it, and Marty Brodeur has to use that big left mitt to knock it up and over the glass. Hemsky is the one player that's been around a while, Doc. He's played his entire career with Oilers. He was there when they went to the finals. He's been there when it's been meager rewards in the last few years. And he's hoping he'll be around when those rewards resurface, when some of these young players gain a little experience and maturity.
Old guy on this team. Arnott a shot, and it's held by Dubnyk.
Oh boy, Jason Arnott. You know, it's been a while since he was an Oiler, but it's still fun to play against the team that you started your career with. He knows this game's going back to the oil capital of Alberta. Calgary people won't like me for saying that, but he's had 3 good chances to score, and as of yet hasn't been able to bury one of them.
If they write you an angry letter, it'll be Christmas before it gets here. Offensive zone faceoff for the Devils. And it is taken by Vasyunov, trickled around behind. Played back on for Eberle. Eberle lifted it further, and it is jabbed on, but Vasyunov tangles there, and gently down to the ice goes Ryan Jones. So it is green. I think there is an overnight service from Canada to the U.S., but meanwhile, back ahead it is Zajac with it, shoves it over for Vasyunov, but it is Jones. The All-America from Miami University saw that one lost to Eberle, and Eberle can start it ahead. Eberle given a little bit of a shove by White. Meanwhile, the puck comes back to him, and a shot was deflected by Green wide. Onto the back it comes, settled down, and then played back in, and an offside results from this.
Well, you know, we're just seeing the raw talent that we featured in the top of the show. Taylor Hall, Eberle, PRV. But look at Eberle now. He sidesteps the hit and then pokes it up front, gets the return pass. I think it's Andy Green's stick, though. Off a nice pass from Jones. I think Andy Green, Johnny on the spot to get his stick in the way of that dangerous shot. But my goodness, Doc, that is flat out top end skill by the Oilers, and they are filled with it on the top 6 of their team right now, and their captain's out of the lineup.
They have played only 6 games at home this year. They have won 2 of the 6, and are finally going to get back home after their game Sunday afternoon over at the Big Cylinder against the Rangers. This is thrown back along by Whitney and taken by Hall. Hall tried to sail it further. Elias chopped it back, skittered in on Dubnyk, and he hangs on. Fans, stay tuned for the second period intermission report presented by Jaguar. Steve Cangelosi, Ken Danico will be along for that. Arnott and Elias depart in favor of the line of Zubris and Clarkson and Ralston for New Jersey. Cogliano's unit is out there for the Oilers right now. Tom Gilbert is back on defense. Gilbert, a 5th-year Edmonton Oiler out of Bloomington, Minnesota, where the Mall of America is and where the North Stars used to have home ice. Now along with this is Clarkson, shoved off, bounces off, keeps going now to the outside. David Clarkson just lifted it along. It skipped through Ralston, reaching a Zubris. Back pass onto Ralston, and then he was hit by a couple. Thrown by Ralston off of Zubris. Ralston around to get it again. Turns it on to Clarkson, trying to shake the checking. Meanwhile, Clarkson able to pivot and lay it onto the back. Volchenkov a shot, and that struck the skate of Colin Fraser. Dealt back along now for Clarkson behind. Wraparound, throttled one. A backhander, score! It is Ralston, and the deficit for New Jersey is back to 1.
Well, the Savior has delivered. Brian Ralston and I have been chuckling for 2 days about, he said, I'm going to be riding in on a white horse tonight. He was kidding, of course, because he only played that game in a bit. He's been out, but they've been looking forward to his return, and he delivers, but not before David Clarkson makes a nifty play, because when David Clarkson wraps his puck, now it's going to come later, good show of strength there by Ralston to battle for position. Continues to battle, but David Clarkson puts the goaltender down by the wraparound, and then with that opening between the legs, Brian Ralston does the rest, stashes them home, and the Devils are within 1.
So the question is, who will put the most doubt in the other team's minds? They have both had to deal with that a lot this year. Kovalchuk dropping it on. It's laid onto the back to Colin White with a drive, and that one kicked aside by Schmid. Pumped on, and Kovalchuk got it. Popped one further, but that one is steered along by Foster. Came across Vasyunov, denied by the checking of Taylor Hall, and it's grabbed and thrown back off by Foster. Kept alive by Green. Pumped back along Vasyunov, set up to Kovalchuk, and a ripper that ricocheted off of Dubnyk. Another try, and that one kicked to the corner by the defense. It is Gagne seeing this come on to Hemsky now. Hemsky moving up with Hall. Hemsky pulls and puts on some moves and then pivots. Deals it back onto Hall. Feathered it hoping for Whitney, but instead got Kovalchuk. He's got an opening, and he moves the fan standing here as he pivots, looks over the traffic, deals it across off Tedenby, and Tedenby has this one defended away by Foster and on back to center.
Kovalchuk had to wait, Doc, because the late guy was on the bench. He had to come off the bench to keep up with the play, and that's why Ilya had no options. Usually the late guy just coming up the ice. In this case, he's on the bench on a change, but here's that goal. Look at that wraparound by Clarkson, and the puck lays there, and Dubnyk looks around. One of the rare times that he takes his stick off the ice. He doesn't keep it flat. As he was looking to his right, it was spotted by Brian Ralston, and he just slowly or quickly backhanded it through the legs. But you know what's good now is the Devils have a couple lines going, and that's what you want. You want to get on a roll in terms of 2 or 3 lines, shift after shift, possessing that puck.
Here comes Tedenby, and a shot is deflected to the glass. Oilers ahead by 1, 90 seconds to go in the period. Clarkson and Zubris the assists on Ralston's first of the year. Hall and Whitney on the goal by Gagne. They did make a scoring change there on the second assist. Linder looking, thinking there should have been a penalty against the Oilers. It would be their first of the night other than the major to Stortini. And icing is called against New Jersey. The face-off to come back near Marty Brodeur.
Well, you know, Brian and I were chuckling. You know, he came in, he was in great shape, he had lost some weight, really worked on his leg strength and his skating. And he said, but I came to camp, and he said I didn't really have a role. I wasn't sure where I was going to play. We were really heavy on the left side. Then I get injured, but now, you know, a month or so, a month and a half later, I'm coming back as the guy that they need to spark the team. And he was laughing about it. But how quickly fortunes change in life, in hockey. And he said, yeah, I'm going to be riding in on a white horse. I'm going to ride a white horse to the game tonight as a joke. But sure enough, he's come through. And he looked very excited, didn't he?
Oh, yeah.
You know, David Clarkson, you can see that his game is starting to puff up. And you've got to have a bit of a swagger. Hedberg was talking about that. What they're missing in the dressing room, the Devils are, is there's no confidence, and there's certainly no swagger, but that only comes from winning. And that's where the Devils are trying to get to here tonight. But they still got a lot of work ahead of them.
Here's Hemsky, finessing, crossing, turning, but he fanned on the shot. So the cash register rung, but the drawer didn't open. So back to get this now, and being wrestled to the corner was Curtis Foster by Brian Ralston. Meanwhile, out of a scrum, it is taken by Hall and nicely slipped on to Gagne, moving back up with Eberle now. Boy, this is the solid future here. And speaking of solid, Gagne just got taken to the boards, and he is crawling over the boards now.
Well, Dinah Subras hits Gagne in front of the Devils bench, and as they continue, you've got those partitions where the glass is set up. Now watch here. Boom, and then unfortunately for Gagne, if it had happened a little earlier, a little later, he wouldn't have hit the glass. He would have just kind of went over the boards. There you see his head striking that barrier. But he seems to be okay, Doc. I think it was a bit of a wrench neck rather than like a blow. And oh, he is leaving, isn't he? Nope, he's going to be fine. That's good news.
Couple Advil between periods. Colin White turning with this. Back up now for Vasyunov, moving out with Kovalchuk, and Kovalchuk marches ahead. Got it to Zajac. Blast! And it got the glass. Vasyunov turning with it there. Tried to center. Kept there by Green. Swung, but it went off a couple of Oilers sticks at the horn. And 2 periods have been played here. 2-1 Edmonton after 1. 3-2 Edmonton at the end of 2. Experience the passion, fun, and excitement of Devils hockey with a Pepsi Family Pack. Each package includes 4 tickets, 4 Pepsis, and 4 hot dogs starting at only $159. The Pepsi Family Pack is the best way, so join the Devils Army for an action-packed and affordable night out with your whole family. Get your 4 tickets, 4 Pepsis, and 4 hot dogs for $159 by calling 1-800-NJ-DEVIL or visiting NewJerseyDevils.com today. The Albany Devils have a guy named Matt Anderson who had 2 goals, a +1 and 4 shots, despite the 6-3 loss Wednesday to Norfolk. 4 years at UMass Amherst and 4 years in professional hockey. Tonight, the Albany Devils are trailing Syracuse 2-0 in the 3rd period. Brian Ralston with Steve.
And he has entered the scoring column, Doc Emmerich, and a big goal that gets the Devils back in this game. First of all, your first game since October 9th. Physically, how have you felt out there? There's nothing like real game action, I suppose.
Yeah, it's a little sluggish for sure, but, you know, first period was a little tough, but I'm getting there, you know. So every shift I feel a little bit better.
And you contribute with a big goal, and big things are expected of this line, too, with Zubras and Clarkson. This has to feel good for you.
Oh, absolutely. It's good to get on the board for sure, and obviously being out as long as we did, and we had a great shift here, and you know, I was happy to contribute. That's a good range for me right there, Steve. Right from the goal line, I can put those in every time.
Well, we've seen you score from long range too, so you're selling yourself short. Brian, your first game back, how would you describe what you've come back to? A team that really does need a victory tonight. You've had to view this from the outside the last few weeks.
Yeah, what's important right now is we got to really bear down and get this win. That's it. That team over there, they got a young team. We got to go out in the 3rd period and keep pressing them. We're getting opportunities, but if we can finish here, it would be good for our confidence for sure.
Good to see you back.
Thanks.
Brian Ralston and the Devils now trailing Edmonton 3-2. When we come back, the second intermission report presented by Jaguar. Ken Danico standing by with his take on the middle 20 minutes. A lot to get to at the Rock. Good hockey game now, 3-2 Edmonton.
The New Jersey Devils intermission report is presented by Jaguar. Introducing best-in-class Jaguar Platinum coverage on all 2011 Jaguar cars. Learn more at JaguarUSA.com or visit your local Jaguar dealer.
3rd period about to get underway. Taylor Hall leads Edmonton with 5 shots. Patrick Elias leads the Devils with 5 shots on goal. Though neither of them have scored, they have collected points. Hall a primary assist and Elias a secondary. As you see, Vasyunov, who had his first NHL goal earlier in this game. Devils down by 1. No carryover penalties nor power plays as we start the 3rd. Gagne and Zajac to get things started. Hall retrieves and gives to Whitney. Right back across for Strudwick, fed on, and Hemsky connects with Gagne. Gagne with the shot, shrugged away by Brodeur. Rebound, he sprawls, and he's able to cover. New Jersey Devils hockey on MSG Plus is brought to you in part by Verizon Wireless. The signal is yours. Wield it to transmit anything you want. Verizon. By 5-Hour Energy. Hours of energy now, no crash later. For more information, visit 5hourenergy.com. And by Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit us at geico.com or call 1-800-947-AUTO. Vasyunov drops it back. Kovalchuk up with it there. It is a steal, and here comes Hemsky. White meets him. Hemsky in front, lost it off his stick. Meanwhile, it started back the other way by Andy Green. Hands on to Kovalchuk. Moving up with Vasyunov. Kovalchuk holds, rips it across to Green. Green with a shot blocked down in front by Dubnyk. Picked up, and it's helter-skelter right now. Dropped back out by Gagne. Taken on by Hemsky. Moves up with Hall. Looked like he was going to go for the drop pass, and I bought that, but Marty Brodeur did not. So he was able to block it away.
Shot. Yes. I tell you, this is racehorse hockey. This is more advantageous to the Oilers. But the problem for the Devils is they almost have to join them because they need some goals.
Tedenby roughed up a bit by Gilbert. Tedenby able to get by. Turned it to Elias. Then to Tedenby around in front. Rising backhander was blocked off by Dubnyk. Well, that was a good try. Short side high as he was wanting to get his first NHL goal and tie the game. Taramina with one that is deflected up into the mesh.
Devils down by a goal early on. Now here's this puck coming up high. Brodeur fights it, catches right in the neck piece, the plastic, but it's the rebound that he had to stay with. Right after that, here comes Hemsky and the poke check by Brodeur with some help from Colin White. But Marty, I think, has finally probably figured out by now that there's going to be no relief, and he doesn't have much room for a mistake now because the Oilers have been coming at him all night long. And Doc, when they're in this mode, they are fun to watch. They'll give you the other team some chances. But if you give them enough chances of their own, they're going to burn you with some goals. There's a lot of skill. Boy, this team is going to be fun to watch on those cold winter nights in the next few years. And even now, the franchise and the folks up in Edmonton, they've been patient. They're excited. They don't care how the team is doing in terms of wins and losses, although they'd like to see them win. But they just can't wait to see the development of this team. Much like that happened, what's it been, 30 years ago, back in the early 80s?
That was a team that you and Ron Hextall once faced in the 87 final. The 85 final was Philadelphia and Edmonton as well. Turned aside by Brodeur. Oilers lost to the Islanders in a final, and then the next year won their first Stanley Cup from the Islanders. Here's a shot that is trapped by Brodeur from the stick of Ryan Whitney. Tonight after the game, hear from Coach John McClain and get highlights and analysis of the Devils and Oilers on the Devils postgame tonight immediately following all of the action.
Okay, Ryan Whitney, Doc, is one of the defensemen has a little bit of offensive skill. But what the Oilers don't have yet is like that Paul Coffey, Drew Doughty. They don't have that gifted, really over-the-top skilled defenseman yet. But knowing Steve Tambellini, that is the next on his wish list is a player of that stature. And depending on where they finish this year, Doc, they may be able to get it in the draft.
This is back ahead, but a little too far for Fraser, though. He got out of the way of the hit coming from Magnan, though without his stick. And bulling his way to the front, battling there is Stortini. Stortini working. Back up the boards it comes, and it's punched back to center. No, you're right, and the fan population even says openly on talk shows, okay, so we lose. At least we're going to get a good draft pick out of this.
Oh, yeah.
And if you look, they've got 7 first-rounders here. Over half of tonight's roster are Oiler draft picks. But you have a little more margin for error when you're picking real high in the first round because you're going to get somebody real good.
How about that? 13 assists for Ryan Whitney. 0 in terms of goals. That puts him second among NHL defensemen, but that is the next order of business for these Oilers. But what's fun, Doc, for the fans is we're going to get some seconds back on the clock because that was an illegal face-off. But for the Oiler fans, when you've got a team like this, even when you're losing, it's fun to come to the rink because you're going to see some skill plays that you don't normally see in the National Hockey League. There's been 4 or 5 tonight where you said, wow, that was impressive by one of the Oilers. The Devils have had their moments as well. But once again, not enough to show for it yet. 2 goals on 26 shots.
Next goal, huge. How's that for having a grasp of the obvious? Brodeur grabs this one, hands it around now for Green to connect back up. Vasyunov filtered one through Zajac, but played by White and swept in by Kovalchuk, and on the bounce tended and covered by Dubnyk.
Well, Travis Zajac has seen a lot of ice time. He's had a wonderful game, and now he's got to win some faceoffs. This line, to me, has got to continue to be the leading force offensively for New Jersey, and then everybody else follow their lead. You see, up top is Kovalchuk.
Oilers prevailed on the face-off, lifted along, but Kovalchuk spiked it down, though Schmid follows up. Gives on to Hemsky, brings it up with Gagne, has Schmid up there as well with the Larry Murphy Memorial decoy. Taken along now, Gagne bounced one off Brodeur after he stashed it off of Green. Played to the outside, drive by Hemsky is deflected to the corner. Hemsky crunched there, Colin White up with a puck. Hemsky on him, and it is turned right back by Gagne to Hemsky. Return to Gagne, given to Hemsky. Swept away, and Schmid must play at center. More changes for the Oilers. This one ladled back in by Ryan Jones. Brodeur stops it behind. 3 3/4 minutes played in the third. No change in the score, 3-2 in favor of Edmonton. Oilers trying to get points number 11 and 12. Devils trying for the same total. Carried ahead now by Taramina. Lobbed too far for Tedenby and down. Will it be icing? Elias canceled it. Tedenby took it. Ran into a sandwich there. Continues to fight for it, but a penalty coming up. The call is a hook, and the Devils will go on the power play.
Jason Strudwick, he is just beside himself. Now, Tedenby and Elias do a good job of putting the puck in the Oilers' end. Now, Tedenby hangs on to it, you might guess, a little too long, but he forces Strudwick, or at least lures him into thinking he needs to hook his stick. Instead, he gets the gloves. Right there, you see up under the gloves, Strudwick is just livid, though, afterwards. He says, no, you can't do that to me, but the referee did, and now the Devils have a man advantage. The penalty kill for the Oilers, the worst in the National Hockey League. Can the Devils take advantage of it?
Numbers 30 in power play and 30 in penalty kill going in against each other here. Elias hands it back. Green with it there. Elias up with it again. Back to Green. Shuffled across. Arnott with it. 2 power play goals for him this year. Clarkson, bad angle shot, save, rebound. No! What a grab out of the air by Dubnyk.
Oh, my! What a save. This is a glorious save by number 40, Dubnyk. This makes him feel like an NHL goalie of the finest stature. I mean, he knows he can make other saves, but the rookie tended to be on the rebound, going top shelf. And his nickname is the Giraffe, Doc, and that's what he looked like on that save. All arms and legs, but mostly a big glove to snare that puck.
No spots, no Swiss cheese. Taken on by Tedenby, given back to Elias, handed across to Green. Set up for Arnott again. Drifting is Tedenby. Green with a shot, deflected high off Dubnyk, and it hopped out of play.
Well, the Devils have to... Ooh, they're saying this is outside. Yeah, it's inside. No, these should be inside. Andy Green puts it on net, even though a stick broke. But the Devils just want to keep fighting pucks. Here you see it right in front. Oh my, that is gorgeous. What a wicked glove save. And there you see when the man who shot the puck, in this case Tedenby, puts his head down almost on the ice in disbelief. You know a good save has just happened. But the Devils can't get discouraged, Doc. They cannot let anything distract them. They can't think about anything but being obsessed to score the next goal.
Taken by Kovalchuk, given to Talinder, handed across to Ralston, drive, and that one blocked away courageously to the corner by Peckham. Poked along by Zubris, able to ladle it around behind but away from Kovalchuk. Thrown back by Talinder off the referee, played there and shaken on by Zajac. Kovalchuk holds it there inside the box, Zubris, and that pass tipped back out by Cogliano, who comes to the bench for a change in lines. Halfway through the power play, carried right back by Dinah Zubris again, dropped off to Zajac. Zajac sped it further, but it's cleared back down, and the Devils will probably make a change here as this is set up by Marty Brodeur. Kovalchuk remains out there right now, though. Zajac as well, as it's carried by Talinder. Handed across to Ralston. Moves on across. Threw a pass across that Zubras can rescue and set up for Talinder. Talinder to Ralston. Drive, and that one blocked and held by Dubnyk.
A good choice by Brian Ralston as this power play winds down. 30 seconds. But not the best look here, but Brian saying, I got to get something on net. I know there's a couple red shirts sniffing around the edge of the crease. But Dubnyk, what a job of controlling that dangerous rebound. 54 power play goals in the last 5 seasons. He just wants to make it 55 tonight.
3 shots on this power play for the Devils so far, and a couple great quality. Here's Arnott up with it. Leads it on back to Patrick Elias. Has Green and gives to him. Green again, along now for the turn by Tedenby. Tedenby holding, then lost it off his stick, but help came from Clarkson. Roughed up a bit for his trouble there by Peckham. Kept alive by Green, and Green can walk it and then deal to Elias. Patrick Elias stashed it back in deep. Tedenby with a through one in front that was blocked and then eventually played ahead by Whitney. Penalty time is up. Out of the box is Strudwick. And this will be brought back on an icing near goaltender Devin Dubnyk.
Well, he certainly made the save of the game so far. Devils power play started in a very encouraging manner, but kind of fizzles as it went on. And that save he made can pretty much grab the life out of a team if they let it. But he has used every bit of his toolbox as he possesses, Doc. His legs, his stick, his lateral movement, the big pads, and that wicked glove. And now we're having a timeout called by, I think, Johnny McLean. No, it's by the Oilers. Interesting. Now let's break this down, Doc.
Must have been off the icing. They decided, even though a penalty had just been killed and the box was empty, icing was called, and maybe they felt this is, Tom Rennie might have felt this is at sort of the crux of the game. So maybe we should get a breather here.
You know, I think you're right. I think what he saw was when the penalty was taken, the Oilers were starting to race around and run around and get out of position, and he took the penalty. Now, the first part of the power play didn't work well, but they righted the ship at the end. And I think he was just saying, now, guys, we've weathered a pretty big storm here. Now let's not get all discombobulated and tear around. Just, you know, stay in position. You know, pick a man, and when you are on him, stay on him. And this is where Travis Zajac needs to win a face-off. Of course, every time the puck's in the Oilers and the Devils face-off man has to win it.
Peckham guided it behind. Strudwick couldn't get it. Kovalchuk could. Played on for Vasyunov. Burrowing in is Zajac. Zajac crunched there. Locked up a bit by Peckham. Up the boards it comes. Taramina to play it back. Bounced loose to be tipped on to Zajac. Got it to Kovalchuk, and he fluttered one wide. Talinder brushed it around. Off of Zajac in the shadow of the referee. Pitched on by Strudwick. Taken back out by Colin Fraser. Fraser with the first 2 goals in the game tonight. Then Vasyunov, his first ever. Then Gagne, and then Ralston, his first of the year in his 3rd game. Pivoting back now is Talinder. 7 minutes have been played here in the 3rd. Gianta pitched it back in. Mayer goes charging after it with Gilbert. Gianta comes by, knocks Gilbert down. Brulé helped it on a cross, and it's gathered in by Ryan Jones. Smead with a pass ahead. That one bounced off Brulé and fidgeted back to center by White. Rifled back in by Gilbert and stopped by Brodeur. Coaches are happy with who they have out there right now. No changes as Mayer brings it ahead. Mayer sent it off the Lincoln sign, carried right back up now by Eberle. Gave it across to Jones, settled it down and swung one that's popped high. Waffle boarded away by Brodeur and dealt back around now for Eberle again. Jordan Eberle had Mayer in his path. Little pass returned for him, but hacked away by Mayer. Taken on by Gianta, and Gianta shakes one further. Smead there, but it is dealt back by Hall. Now changes made by both teams. Little feet ahead, and Hemsky has it on to Hall. Hall with a head fake and a shot blocked down by Volchenkov. Hall again poked it behind. Devils can outman there, thrown back along by Magnan, and it's Ralston with Clarkson out there and Zubras coming by. Given on to David Clarkson, a shot, and that one geared away by the netminder Dubnyk. Battled for there at the half boards and pitched on for Zubris. Zubris pivoting now, trying to shake Schmid. It's set up for Ralston, pivots to the outside. Ralston, a shot off the glove of Dubnyk, tapped into traffic, gotten on by Clarkson again. Shaken around for Zubris. He and Schmid test the board. Schmid falls, but plays one that has Ralston's puck to play. Gives it on back for Magnan's shot, and that tipped wide by someone in front. Lobbed on back by Hall and down the ice and on goal. The Oilers changing. Brodeur the toss to Clarkson. Toes it up, picks up reinforcements. Jostled to the half boards. Swung it past Elias. Taken by Arnott. Elias is out in front, so is Clarkson. It's dealt to him. Clarkson jabbed one on, and Arnott can play to Elias again. Arnott near the front of the cage as Elias preoccupied at the outside. And it is brought back up by the Oilers again. Dustin Penner's pass floats on through. And it is PRB with it there. Around behind, Cogliano couldn't come up with it. Taramina could, but then it's PRB charging it right back to the corner. Roughed up a bit there by Talinder. It came back to him. PRB again to the outside. Cogliano reached. Able to step by Taramina with it. Andrew Cogliano got it back. Played by Peckham. Worked back around behind. PRB able to shuttle one through that's poked along by Taramina. So now play back in the Devils' end as it had been in the opposite end of the ice earlier. Laid back out for Elias. Pulls and hands on to Arnott with a big shot. And that one blocked by Dubnyk. Dealt back ahead now for control, but then just that quickly lost by Stortini at center. Walking it back is Green. Good bump on him by Peckham. Left behind by Tedenby and clomped on by Dubnyk, and play is stopped. One tick below 10 minutes to go. Third period. It is still 3-2 the Oil.
It's time now for the ING Direct Save of the Game, and it's a dazzler. You're not going to believe this if you haven't seen it yet. This one is worth looking at 3 times. Here's the second time. Tedenby just flat out robbed. I don't think I've seen a better save this season. It has kept the score remaining the same. The Devils down by 1. They desperately needed that. The youngster from Sweden looking for his first goal thought he had it, but he's going to have to wait a while longer. Because of that man right there. He's got a nice smile on his face. He's got to be feeling pretty good about his game right now, Doc. He only has 1 game of record. That was an overtime loss. But his save percentage, Dubnyk's save percentage is way up over 9.93. Oh, as we mentioned, 0.920 is about the standard. Above that's like a B, B+, A. Below that is the grades that I used to get, C or D.
Taylor Hall outlets to Hemsky, who moves ahead. Hemsky with a shot, and that one deflected up into the mesh. And again, play halted with 9:50 to go in the third.
Well, as hard as it is to believe that save we just saw is not the greatest save by a goalie from the Oilers this year. It's that save there by Nikolai Habibulin, who's getting arrested. Watch his glove hand. He swats the thing up and over. He's kicking at it. He's flailing at it. But what a brilliant save. And there he rests tonight as he will play in the world's most famous arena Sunday night against the Rangers. And we got a penalty coming up, and it's going to be against the Oilers.
Delayed call on. Colin White shoves one that's knifed down now by Dinah Zubris. Brings it ahead on the delayed call. Crosses and lost it off his stick. So the power play will begin for the Devils with 9:37 left in period 3.
Oh boy, this one hurts because it's right after a face-off. It's deep in the offensive zone if you're the Oilers, and it's just unnecessary. Now Hemsky, he's battling, he's trying, but he's just got to back off. There he is. Well, I'm not even sure. It must have happened right off the face-off. Maybe. I don't know. Sorry about that. I didn't get a look at it.
Call was a high stick on Hemsky.
High stick? Oh, right off the face-off. That's what it was.
Devils 0 for 1 on the power play with 3 shots on their earlier one. They have Arnott out there inside the box, Tedenby. It's away from Clarkson, punched right back. Hoping for him was Elias. It came back to Elias, led on back to Green. Green gives to Elias again. Deals one off the corner boards that Tedenby gets. Tedenby close quarters to Elias, laid on back to Green, set up now for Jason Arnott. Clarkson standing in front of the goalie. Arnott plays catch. Green a shot. Save made by Dubnyk. Jamming away initially was Clarkson, but Dubnyk had it.
You know, Tom Rennie, the coach, really had it right when he said about this young goalie we're watching both battling and have battles all around him. Oh, Whitney, a little back of the neck rub there on Elias. But when Tom Brady, the coach, said, this young goalie, number 40, really knows how to control rebounds, that has been the order of business for him tonight, as both Clarkson and another Devil were right on the doorstep, waiting. Tenenby, he goes out high, which he should. They were in the I formation, the Devils were, but the puck just wouldn't squeak out more than like a half an inch. And then the big goaltender pounced on it.
Arnott chased out. Elias in to test with Penner. Off the tie-up, swept back by Arnott, taken by Green. Green readies, and then shoots one. Score!
Oh, that's a terrible feeling for Hemsky coming out of the penalty box. But watch all the good placer. That's Tenenby. He gets in that scrum, and he's the one who gives it to the wall. And then Andy Green, walk, walk, walk. And I don't know who tips it in front. Is it that youngster, Tenenby? Yes, it is, Doc. First National Hockey League goal. He got his assist. Watch number 21. He stepped up. He's got his stick out saying, Andy, just lay it in here. And he slaps it down on the ice back against the grain. And that's a memorable one, Doc. But he made a great play to go into the faceoff when the puck laid behind the two guys taking it and got it to his player where it eventually got back to Green.
They are back even again, these two teams. And here's Ralston trying to play in front, cannot. Pelly up with that one, away from Zubris. Started ahead by Jones and trickled on for the reach by Talinder that caromed on, but all of this is called back because of an offside. The Devils have come back and have tied it up at one time a 3-1 deficit, even at 3.
It's time for one of tonight's
IOTV presents the HD highlight of the game. IOTV brings you the best HD experience free. That's Matthias Tenenby. Watch what he does here. He's looking relaxed now, but he steps in front of Whitney. He gets to that loose face-off puck, gives it to Arnott, and then he drives the net, but then he gets loose. Got to stick up. Andy Green, though, what a great job. Watch how Andy avoids that stick of that Oiler, and then he throws it in about waist high. Tenenby's going to slap this puck down and back against the green. And he now is a recipient of his first National Hockey League goal. And Doc, if you're going to score them, you want them to matter, you want them to count, and that one certainly does in a big way.
Green and Arnott get the assists on Tenenby's first NHL goal. Vasyunov had his first earlier, and you talked about goals that mattered. Vasyunov made it a 2-1 game, the Devils trailing. Had the next goal come from an Oiler, as it didn't that far after from Gagne, it would have been 3-zip. And history may have been different. History still to be written here in terms of who gets the 2 points. Tie game, and Zubris brings it ahead, shaking it around past Peckham. Around behind, Zubris went to the boards, gets up and battles again with Gilbert. Ralston working as well, and Gilbert took care of Zubris so that it could be started ahead by Cogliano. And on now to Piarvi.
Now, the one thing the Devils can't do, Doc, is get too anxious when the puck's in the Oilers' end. They have to keep the third man high. They can't allow the Oilers to get some odd man situations on the quick strike. And you've heard that a lot about keeping the third man high, and that's the order of business for the Devils right now.
Jean Morin, the linesman, in his 20th year, born in Quebec, lives now on Long Island. But recalled 18 years ago, he talked about breaking up fights earlier and how they respectfully stood back. Game in Chicago with Detroit, 300 minutes in penalties, including a Probert battle with Mike Peluso.
Oh.
And Ron Hogarth called a lot of penalties that night, 300 or so of them. And at that time, that was considered a pretty good amount, but not a record. Meanwhile, along the boards they battle, and in different eras, Ajax shook one ahead, pumped back out again by Vasyunov. And so it is Schmid. Taylor Hall brings it on. It's Hemsky with it. Hemsky pulls and shoots. Oh, and it went just wide. Jammed on back by Gagne. Hall could not play. Green could. A battle of wills. And who will prevail? Both of these teams have been stained by games like this in the early part of the season. Strudwick just holding behind as the clock is below 7 minutes left in regulation time. Whitney able to fly one on back. On the bounce, it's Green. Deals up to Elias, and Elias is able to send it back in. Dubnyk stopped and handed on to Whitney. Whitney connects back on. Nice pull there by Brule, and he had to recover, but he did. But off Eberle's stick, and so moving back Volchenkov. Able to shake it by, but then it's Eberle around behind. Comes out, blows one out in front, but that one could not be connected on by Ryan Jones, and so it is Gilbert flopping it back along and off one of the Devils, and controlled now as both teams will make a change in lines. Ralston is back out there, so is Zubras, and so is Clarkson. Pass is deflected back along by Clarkson. He won the duel with Gilbert, got it to Zubras, and his shot is high off Dubnyk, and he just recovers and gloves it.
Okay, the Devils are starting to think offense when the time is right. You want to be patient, but then you get his opportunity. Nice play by Clarkson over to Zubras, but again, Dubnyk recovering after that last goal will not spit out a rebound. There you saw Clarkson would have been there to bang it home. But the Devils playing smart hockey right now, and they just can't afford to get careless.
11 shots to 3 Devils here in the third period. But the young man from Regina, Saskatchewan, Devin Dubnyk, has had the eye of a cafeteria cashier. Brushed across now by Cogliano. He's able to take his own pass and deal it back in, and so it's Volchenkov back to get it. Bounced off that hit that came from Fraser. Meanwhile, it is a play to be made back out again by Rod Pelly. And Dubnyk waiting as it crossed that line, left behind for Mayer. Has to test, though, with Foster. Reaching in is Giunta. Mayer has it. Jammed a backhander off an Edmonton stick, and it was wide. Taken back along by Talinder now. Talinder dealt it further to Pelly. Rod Pelly trying to shake Cogliano. Not easy. Pelly again threw one that was just booted back out again by Zach Stortini and down on Brodeur. Long toss. Both teams in a fire wagon change. Thrown back on by Talinder. After it, Vasyunov, and he got it. Flipped one in front. Kovalchuk, a shot that's deflected up into the mesh. Offensive zone face-off for the Devils. 5:10 to go in the third. Tied at 3.
Quick look at Devin Dubnyk's mask. He's a young goaltender for the Oilers. There he's got scenes of outdoor hockey, pond hockey, which is what we've seen a lot tonight. That's appropriate. And that is a puck stuck in a snowbank, which often happens when you're playing pond hockey. But what I like is on the back. That is a giraffe with a goalie mask, because that has kind of been his nickname at 6'6", and his arms and legs have looked that long tonight at times, and you can't fault him on any of the goals. And I got to say, Doc, there's been 5 or 6 plays that he's made that should have been goals for the Devils, but haven't been. And so it is what it is. It's 3-3 with under 5 to go.
Andy Green comes across to help out here. Pushed it off the linesman. Thrown back in by Gagne, and obediently he comes to the bench for a change in lines again. So it is Brule's unit out there along with Eberle and Ryan Jones. Pass went away from Zajac and is set up by Dubnyk, but right there to get it, Kovalchuk. Kovalchuk just delaying. Threw one in front. Oh, and it went off of Vasyunov's stick as he tried to pull the trigger. Kovalchuk wanting to swagger away from Gilbert. Flipped one out in front that steered away by Gilbert. Played by Eberle and dealt back out. So down near Brodeur, this one comes. He just guides it aside for Taramina. 4 1/4 to go, third period. Devils have 11 shots. The Oilers have 3 this period. Vasyunov tried to get through, could not. Forced back around the boards. It is watched by Kovalchuk. Tries to shake through, cannot. Starting it back is Penner, has Eberle with him. Devils with plenty of people back, and so one of them, Talinder, takes over here. Smoked out by Penner, gives on to Taramina. Long pass ahead is carried on by Tedenby. Tedenby with a shot. A no-look shot was a steamer, and it was handled by Dubnyk.
Mateus Tedenby, after he scored his first goal, but even before, you could just see his confidence grow. And when that happens, those legs are going to move even faster. And he's the fastest guy on the ice by far. And he really backed off the D, put it on net, and if there had been a rebound, he would have gotten to that first as well. But this has been a big step game for the youngster, as he's looked really good with Arnott and Elias.
Arnott wins this one cleanly. On back for Volchenkov to Elias. and around for Arnott to try to reach. Strudwick is there to test with him. Stortini bashed it further, but it's hung up in skates. Squirted on back for the walk across and the deal into some traffic by Elias. Tangled up was White with Stortini. Meanwhile, angled across and could not be played by the Devils. Instead, it's handled by Whitney. Connects to Strudwick. Hawked there by Elias. It is directed out by Fraser. All of this is Edmonton counterpunching at this point. But it is still a tie game as Tedenby had to pull up to try to get this. Zubris came by and then fought his way further. Zubris has run off and then goes down to the ice heavily with Stortini. Puck squirts in front, taken by the Oilers, started back up for Taylor Hall. Hall just moves ahead, weaving his way along. Hall to the outside circles to Hemsky, who tried to dish his way by, and then he's walled by Talinder. 2:47 to go. Hall again up with it. Dealt it back along for the curl by Hemsky. Back onto Hall. Through one that ricocheted off a Devil and pumped away by Brodeur. Lobbed into the glove of Hall. Canceled out by Ralston. And back it goes where Zubris can retreat to play. Dinah Zubris shook it away from Hemsky behind. And it's taken on now by Talinder. Talinder with 2:25 to go. Right up the middle of the ice service. Hands on to David Clarkson. Trying to shake his way by Pekka. It's tangled in the corner. Peckham kicks at it. It's sent up the boards. Can be carried back out by Brule. Moves back up with Jones and gave it to him. Jones trying to control. Sized up by White. Dropped it around behind to Brule. Brule laid it back to Schmid. Back to Brule again. Brule threw one in front, hoping for a bounce off White. Did not work. Shouldered was Vasyunov. Bounced off that, but it's controlled by the Oilers again.
What a good play by Vasyunov, Doc, to take the hit and then protect the puck so it cleared the zone.
Here's Kovalchuk moving back in. Drive is deflected away by Schmid and into the mesh. Tonight after the game, hear from Coach John McLean and get highlights and analysis of the Devils and Oilers on the Devils postgame immediately following this test.
Okay, he scored his first goal, and that's great, right? But now the game's on the line. Can you trust him defensively? Watch what he does here. Boom! He takes the hit and then stays with it, and that forces the puck to go out of the zone. That is great puck possession under pressure. And this has been a wonderful game for him as well.
This one squirts loose to Strudwick, and he steered it back out. Hemsky wanted to get further, could not, so Patrick Elias shifts it on back for the Devils and drops it over to Andy Green. 90 to go in regulation. No score change. Both teams will get a point. That would be 11 apiece, but this is cut by Hemsky. Moves back with Taramina watching and blocking his pass. Hemsky again carried off by Taramina. Puck around behind, swatted off of Gagne, taken away by Andy Green. Sure-handed defenseman able to lob one out that Elias directed across and got back again. Patrick Elias ragging, flipped one off an Oilers stick that came to Tedenby, and then again for Andy Green. Dealt across to Arnott. Shook it ahead and Tedenby goes after it, but it's taken by Ryan Whitney. 55 left in regulation time. Whitney gave it on to Cogliano, who steps ahead and ladles it back in. Colin White patrolling there. Sidled up to by Eberle, but White was able to get it back off the boards for Clarkson. Clarkson moves ahead and passed too far for Ralston. The race is on, and it is Peckham clearing it back, and then Clarkson centering. It came back to Talinder, and a shot that went wide as Ralston was bumping gently into Dubnyk. Colin White back for this, no icing. Rifles it on around, stopped at center by Stortini, and flopped back along. All of this is a delayed offside.
Talinder really wanted to get that puck on the other side of the net, Doc. There was so much traffic coming out of that corner. But, you know, it's pressure time. You don't want to make a mistake. You don't want your shot blocked. And it looks like it's also OT time.
Both teams get their 11th point of the season. 36 shots Devils, 23 for Edmonton. 60 minutes played, 3 goals apiece. Overtime coming up next. This New Jersey Devils Overtime is brought to you commercial-free by New York Life, the company you keep. Oilers have been in 2, and they have lost both of them. The Devils have been in 3. 1-1 in overtime, and the shootout, of course, the most recent game against Buffalo, they were 0-1 in that. But in terms of overtime games that have not gone to shootout, The Oilers have not played in one of those.
Well, the news so far tonight for the Devils good. Marty Brodeur returns. He was sharp, strong, no problem with the injury. You got the two kids, Tedemy and Bastianov, scoring their first goal, and you got the returning Brian Rolston getting a goal, Doc. So far, okay, it's not as clean and as easy as the Devils might have hoped. I don't know what they were hoping for, but if they could just get the next point, it could turn out to be a pretty encouraging night. Now, we're not going to go ahead to the shootout, but if we get there, Doc, you look at the Oilers bench, they have a lot of young kids to choose from. I don't know how many of them had shootouts, and I'm thinking the Devils, they might not want to get there. Obviously, you take what you get, but I know they would like to win this thing in regulation, and there's a guy that scored a few overtime winners, so maybe it will be Patrick.
Nobody on the Devils has more of these than Patrick Elias, starting with Arnott. And he'll go against Gagne, who will start up front with Hemsky. Foster back on defense with Whitney. And it is Taramina with Talinder, the Devils' defense. So Whitney with it, connects on to Hemsky. Met by Talinder, puck taken by Talinder, and he starts back. Falling on the play was Foster. Arnott a drive, and that one is held by Dubnyk. It was from that circle over a decade ago that he fired on Marty Brodeur and scored as an Oiler.
It was kind of similar, wasn't it? He puts it on net. You know, we're talking about two rookies scoring their first goal. Last time it happened where two rookies scored their first goal, and it was back in 1995. Jason Smith and Dennis Peterson scored their first on the same night.
15 years ago. Wow. Kovalchuk off this faceoff. It's given up to Talinder. Talinder drops it onto Taramina. Flipped one that was off the stick of Cagliano and is taken and thrown back out by Penner. Jabbed on across to Kovalchuk. Half a minute gone in the sudden death period. Kovalchuk worms his way along, shakes loose off the glove of Talinder, given back to Kovalchuk, rags it. It is an onside play if the Devils can march back that way, but now it's handed across to Kovalchuk. Tried to step by Cagliano, no luck there. Follow up from Zajac, but it's called back on an offside.
Well, Ilya Kovalchuk's got to be careful now. There's more room, but he still wants to kind of slow the pace down and look for options. And he's very anxious. You can imagine what's going through his mind. Would he love to get the monkey off his back, score here in overtime, comes to a shootout, we'll see what happens. But at the same time, Doc, he's got to be careful to try and not do too much by himself. Because the Oilers don't have anything to lose, and they're going to jump him as soon as he gets the puck. He's on the bench now, though.
Elias able to bring it in, and it's Tedemy with it. Tedemy stepping around behind away from Whitney. Tedemy has scored his first NHL.